Shalom. I want to start off by saying Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shah HaMashiach, Kol Halo Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shah HaMashiach. This is breaking news, so I'm going to read this article real quick. Moscow calls U.S. actions at Seattle diplomatic facilities violation of international law. The Russian embassy in Washington, D.C. has told Sputnik that Russian diplomats are following developments after the U.S. authorities tried to break the lock of the front door of the closed Russian consulate general's residence in Seattle. All right, the United States has violated the diplomatic convention as well as international law by breaking into the closed residence of the Russian consulate general in Seattle. The head of the consular section at the Russian embassy in Washington, Nikolai Pukalov, told Sputnik on Wednesday, "We are witnessing a gross violation of diplomatic convention," Pukalov said. And they constantly say that. The United States of America breaks several international laws all the time, and they think they could just go on untouched. It's not going to happen. He added that U.S. authorities violate both international and domestic laws by entering the diplomatic property of the Russian Federation. There's several laws they break, just like them using depleted uranium warheads, which is a war crime. All right, what they did in Syria is a war crime. What they did in war crime. The United States, UK, Saudi Arabia, and Israel are war criminals. The American authorities have broken locks of the main gate and are now trying to break the lock of the front door of the closed residence, the correspondent said. On March 26, U.S. President Donald Trump ordered the expulsion of 60 Russian diplomats and closure of the Russian consulate in Seattle over allegations about Moscow's involvement in the poisoning of former Russian intelligence officer Sergei Skripal and his daughter Yulia in the United Kingdom. And that's been debunked. I could debunk it right now. Why would Russians want to poison somebody with the poison that is so obviously ties it back to Russia? It was a false flag. All right. And it's been proven that that poisoning of Skripal is a false flag. The Russians didn't do it. Russia has strongly and repeatedly denied involvement in the case. When the Russian consulate general closed before April 1st midnight deadline set by the U.S. government, all material objects and documents were transferred to the residence of the consulate general. Okay, again, honestly, because everyone's taking their gold out of the Federal Reserve, that the United States, the government of the United States is trying to do everything it can to, create conflict. All this Russia stuff on television is going to come back and bite Americans in the ass, all right? And the common guys are going to get it, and that sucks. The U.S. government had demanded that Russian diplomatic staff leave the residence before midnight on April 24th. In early September, Russian diplomats lost access to several diplomatic properties when U.S. authorities ordered the closure of the Russian consulate general in San Francisco and trade missions in New York City and Washington, D.C. U.S. officials said that the move came in response to Moscow's decision in late July to reduce the number of U.S. diplomatic staff in Russia to 455 people, the same number of diplomatic personnel Russia had in the United States. The U.S. authorities also removed the Russian flags from the seized Russian diplomatic buildings and later returned them to the Russian side. Moscow said that the actions of the United States constituted a violation of international law. Point blank, period. They broke the law. They break several laws, but there's a point to this. All right? I just want to point out how the United States constantly breaks laws and thinks they could get away with it. All right? What they did in Syria was a war crime. All right, they fund terrorism. All right, the United States funds terrorism. They use depleted uranium warheads. It's a war crime. And they try to say, oh, it's okay. No, it's fine. No, it's a war crime. The United States, Saudi Arabia, and Israel are guilty of war crimes. All right, why do you think they keep going on about this Russian investigation? That Russian investigation was debunked. How come Hillary Clinton isn't in prison right now? All right. They just want to keep saying Russia, Russia, Russia. So people forget. She cheated Bernie Sanders out of the election. She should be in jail. Why aren't they investigating the Clinton Foundation? No, they're criminals. They should be in jail. But they're saying, oh, Trump. 2 years they're investigating if Donald Trump had ties with Russia. They have nothing. They tapped him for 2 years. And if they tap him, whoever they talk to, they get tapped. Whoever they talk to, they get tapped. They have nothing, no evidence. But they'll say, we have it. They won't say what. They have no evidence. All right? It's smoke and mirrors, bread and circus. So eventually people forget. All right. How come George W. Bush isn't in prison? How come Hillary Clinton isn't in prison? All right. The United States is guilty of war crimes. They're criminals. And what they did right now was a violation of international law. Point blank, period. All right. So now I'm going to jump into some scriptures. All right. Habakkuk 2:5. Yea, also because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. All right, and they do that by breaking international laws as well. All right, which is why I'll get into that on another thing. All right, but again, the United States is digging themselves in a hole. They fund terrorism. What they did in Syria was a violation of a violation of the UN Charter. They're guilty of war crimes. Point being, and Iran, they're pissed because they're trying to give them a new deal, what was agreed upon years before. All right, everything they're doing is just against everybody's rights. Shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his? How long? And to him ladeth himself with thick clay. Okay, Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, and now Syria. All right, and Iran and Russia are speaking out against it at this moment right now. Shall they not rise up suddenly that shall bite thee, and awake that shall vex thee? Thou shalt be for booties unto them. Because thou hast spoiled many nations, all the remnant of the people shall spoil thee. All right, speaking of the United States of America, because of men's blood, for the violence of the land, of the city, and of all that dwell therein. Okay, Russia, they know that they try to use propaganda. Russia knows that there's no evidence about collusion or anything. There never was. All right. Russia knows, and everybody knows, that they never poisoned Skripal. There was never any Russian collusion, but they keep saying that and pinning that. Eventually, it's going to come back and bite the United States of America in the ass. This Syria thing is it's coming to a head now. All right. And honestly, they're trying to send Qatari troops in there by the order of the United States of America. You think Russia and Iran don't know that? You think everyone in the international community doesn't know that the United States of America is trying to send Qatar into Syria now to overthrow Assad? Why? Because they need that oil. All right. It's all going to come back to the United States of America. And what does it say here? Shall they not rise up suddenly that shall bite thee, and awake that shall vex thee? Thou shalt be for booties unto them. All right. America's in the midst of World War III right now. The United States of America, it's certain that they're going to have an imminent war with Russia. And we're in the midst of World War III right now. So with that, I'm just going to say Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shah HaMashiach, Kol Halo Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shah HaMashiach. Double honors, apostle, elders, great millstone, who are the holy apostles, prophets mentioned in the book of Revelation. Bless the Akim that are pushing one in true sincerity. To all you men of great millstone, I say Barakatam, Bahasham Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shah HaMashiach, Waha Racha Kudash, and Shalom.